Hello and welcome. This is Michelle with PaperStampInk. Thanks for stopping by my channel today, where I'm going to share with you how to use this beautiful designer series paper and a 6x6 one-sheet wonder to make these awesome cards. And if you're interested in getting more ideas and you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you don't miss out on future tutorials. Let's go ahead and dive into today's project. Okay, so today we are going to be using the Tropical Oasis Designer Series paper. This is from the spring catalog, and it's got all of these gorgeous patterns. And as usual, we've got one side that's got a really detailed pattern with a lot of color, and then the other side is more of a tone on tone. Now, I had some of this paper. It does come in 12 by 12, but I had some that I had cut down into 6 by 6, and this is one of my go-to layouts that I like to do when I want a bunch of cards quick. And I love designer series paper. Wait, have I said that before? I think I have. I think you guys have probably heard me say that. And it just makes it so easy to make beautiful cards. Give me a thumbs up if you like designer series paper as well. So we're going to play with mixing and matching some of our patterns today. And these are just some samples that I made previously with some of the other papers in that designer series pack. So you can see the different looks you can get by mixing and matching the colors for your background and your ink, as well as the papers within the pack. So this one I actually used 4 different patterns. Each of these pieces is a different piece of the designer series paper or the back side of one of these. This one I just used 2 patterns and alternated them, so a little bit different look. I did the same thing with this one, but different colors. And on this one I used our one of the large stitched circle dies and the Starburst for the sentiment. This I used our 2-inch punch and the Starburst as the backing piece for the sentiment, as I did the same thing on this one. So this one I used 2 of the brighter patterns and 2 of the tone on tone, and then this one I went for a softer look with all of the tone on tone. So you really can get a lot of different looks. Mix up your paper. You can get things that are more suited for birthdays, more suited for masculine, for kids cards, for any theme really, just by playing with the papers and the colors you're using. So I've already cut our 6 by 6 papers down just to make it a little bit faster for us, but I do want to show you how this looked as 6 by 6 sheets. So these are my cuts that I had. So I've taken my 6 by 6 paper and I've cut this down at 3 7/8 along the vertical, and then I took on the horizontal piece of that and I cut this at 5 1/8. So I've got 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Now I will have these dimensions on my blog, so don't worry about scribbling them down. You can just enjoy watching the process on the video. I am going to give you some details at the end of this video on another video I'm going to be posting on what I'm doing with these extra pieces. So you're going to want to make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that one that's coming out at a later date. But we're not going to waste anything. We're actually going to use all of these pieces. Now the rest of the cardstock that I do have just Whisper White Thick for my card bases, and I went ahead and just pre-cut a few of those. I thought it'd be a lot easier to stick with all one solid color there, and those are cut at the 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. I'm sorry, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at the 5 1/2. So a standard top folding card. Then I have some coordinating cardstock. Now we know what colors are going to coordinate with this paper pack because Stampin' tells us in the catalog and on the back of the paper packs when you receive them. So I've pulled out Pear, Pizzazz, Pretty Peacock, and Daffodil Delight. And so I just thought it'd be fun to have a few of those to play with and see what kind of combinations we come up with. I then have some other scrap pieces of paper in Whisper White for stamping my sentiments. And you do just want to make sure that these are large enough to be able to, excuse me, I'm hard time of thought here, large enough to be able to fit the 2-inch punch. So I usually like to go at least a ½ inch larger, just to give myself some room. So make sure you do that. The Starburst Punch is just slightly bigger, so I'd go maybe 2 3/4, 3 inches long. So I just have some scrap pieces of the Pear Pizzazz, the Daffodil Delight, and the Pretty Peacock as well. And that's all of the pieces that we're going to need. So I thought I'd cut these down with you on camera, just so you can see what that process is. We are going to use the stamp set from that suite just for the sentiment. So let me bring that in and share with you guys. So this is the Timeless Tropical stamp set that coordinates. This hibiscus flower is just beautiful. Love that. But we're going to be using the sentiment, May Your Birthday Be Memorable, because I need to stock up on some birthday cards. So thank you is another great one, but I'd like a little bit larger sentiments to fill in those circles. And that's what we decided to go with. But again, mix and match. Use your sentiment. Doesn't have to come, of course, from the same pad as your paper. And I'm bringing in our small guillotine trimmer, and this is available for people who sign up to be Stampin' Up! Demonstrators. And just so you know, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator doesn't mean you're having to do video tutorials, teach classes. You can sign up as a discount shopper too. And during celebration, this is one of the free items you get. So for $99, you get to pick $125 of anything in the catalog. You get this trimmer for free. You get 48 pieces of 6x6 designer series paper for free from the catalog, and that's a mix, so you don't know what you're going to get, but they give a great variety, so you get a little bit of a lot of things. And then you get to choose any stamp set from the entire catalog for absolutely free on top of that, and no shipping. So it's a great deal. That's when I decided to sign up, just to get those sales, and I decided I enjoyed actually teaching classes and doing tutorials. So who knows, you might find that you enjoy that as well. So I am going to cut this down, and I'm going to cut it at 2 1/4 inches. And we're just going to go through all of these at one time. So I'm making sure I get those lined up well here. And you know what, maybe we're not going to go through all of them at one time because I'm having a hard time with them not shifting. But we'll get through these really quick. So kind of at 2 1/4 inches. So I'm going to get these 2 pieces. And then I'm going to cut this one at 3 inches tall. So that's going to get me these 2 pieces. And I'm going to cut this one at 2 inches tall. Okay. So those are now our pieces that we have, and I'll cut the rest of these off camera so you don't have to watch me cutting all of those individually. But there is our layout, and you can play with this and do different designs. In fact, I think I might have cut this one smaller than I did the other ones. Now that I'm looking at it, I did. I cut this strip a little bit skinnier, and that's going to be okay as long as we cut all of them the same dimensions that we're going to mix and match. That's the important part. And you do want to not do them right in the center. So we want to have some that are wider and skinnier, and then we want to have something that is taller and shorter. So the rest of these off camera, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, so now I've got those pieces all cut out, and this is where we get to play around with them. And I suggest that you make sure that you get all of your cards laid out before you start adhering. So that way, if you find that you're not real thrilled with the patterns, you have a chance to still pick them up and move them around. So we have 4 of each of these. So we are going to be able to do 4 cards from these 4 panels, and they're each going to have a totally different look. So I'm just going to bring in my papers, and I'm going to play around a little bit with them. So I do love that yellow background of the Daffodil Delight with this. And if I'm doing a tone on tone and some pattern, I like to kind of put those on a diagonal from each other. So if I'm going to do two patterns, I want to have them not right next to each other. I want to have them opposite each other. And let's see, we can play around here and trying to maybe pick one from each of those. Oops, that's the same one. Let's see, is this the one I haven't used yet? I think so. So try and play around with one of each of those, and so we're going to set that one aside over there. Okay, so I've played around with my papers, and these are the patterns that I came up with that I liked. I chose to do some that I had just two the same tone on tone, and then two of the same pattern papers. I like this for a very feminine card and this for more masculine. I did this one with a variety of patterns but stayed in more of the neutrals, and then we've got our bright pops of color with this one. So let's go ahead and let's talk about assembling these. And get you guys back in frame here. And I like to use my Tombow glue for this because it's just allows me to shift those papers around a lot easier when I have such a tight margin. You might have noticed on these cards that the margin is a very thin margin around the edge there. So we want to be able to wiggle that paper around as necessary. So I'm just putting, again, a thin line. You don't need a lot of this glue. You should be able to hear that tip of that glue scraping against your paper. And that's how you know you'll have the right amount. And I am going to, before I let that set, I'm going to kind of eyeball my other piece and make sure I've got about the same amount of margin around the edge, or border around the edge there. So just take your time with this step, and you'll notice as I laid them out too that I did make sure that I had a tall one at the bottom on one side and a longer piece or a taller piece at the top on the other side. So this is my tall skinny piece, this is my tall wide piece. So you do want to line them up that way. It's just gives you more interest with the papers. And then there's our last piece in place. And so I'm going to go ahead and hear all of these down, and then we'll come right back and we'll do the stamping together. You guys don't need to watch me do all of the gluing. Okay, so I've glued all of those onto the panels, and then I have glued the panels onto the card bases, and I'm going to show you, we are going to make sure we use these strips as well on these cards so we don't have anything going to waste. And I don't know about you guys, but if I have a bunch of little strips hanging around, sometimes they just don't get used up. So I like to try and find a way to use them as I'm going. It can get a little overwhelming to have lots and lots of scraps, and putting them on the insides of your card is a great way to use that up, and it just dresses up that inside a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on the inside bottom of each of those cards. There are definitely cards you can make using just these strips, but I don't have enough of them, and again, if I put them in a bin to save them, I may or may not get around to doing one of those. So for today, I just want to make sure that I'm getting them used up. And I love that little added touch of color in there. So if I mentioned Celebration earlier, and I should clarify that is going on through March 31st. And if you're not familiar with Celebration, there's also opportunities to earn free products with purchase. So for every time you spend $50 or $100, there's different levels. You get to pick free items from the Celebration catalog. All of that information is over on my website, and there's shopping links available there. I sure would appreciate your support in shopping with me if you don't already have a demonstrator and you're looking for some products. Those sales are what help me to be able to bring you guys these fun videos. There we go. So those are all done. And now we're just going to stamp our sentiments and our background pieces. Let's bring in some Whisper White here. And I like to match the circle piece, the Starburst piece, with my background matting color. So we've got a couple of Pear Pizzazz there. Let's get those together. Pretty Peacock and a Daffodil Delight. Let's go ahead and bring these out, and I already have my stamp mounted on my block, and so I'm gonna stamp out 2 of these, and I didn't get that one very well, so let's come on over here. There we go, and we're going to do one more right there. Let's go ahead and punch those 2 out. And love that we can see exactly where you're punching with these to get those perfectly lined up. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again, I love my circle punches. Stamping on circles is just so easy. I brought in my Stampin' Shammy to clean those off in between. Another great product to have in your craft room. It makes it so easy. Let's go ahead and bring in the Pretty Peacock. This is one of the in colors for 2019-20, and it's just gorgeous. If you're not familiar with the in colors, every year Stampin' Up! Brings out 5 colors that are new, fresh colors, and they are available for 2 years in the catalog. So the in colors will only be around for 2 years. I mean, occasionally they bring them back into the main line of the catalog, but typically they are only available for the 2 years. So if you enjoy those colors, you definitely want to stock up on the re-inkers and the cardstock before they go out of style. So, but you've still got lots of time with these colors because they'll be around till 2021 on this Pretty Peacock. And I'm going to bring in my Daffodil Delight. And we're just going to flip that other piece over and stamp right on the back of there so we don't waste anything. So paper's got 2 sides, right? We're going to use both of them today. Just need to keep straight which one I'm using for what. And then let's go ahead and bring in the punch, and I'm going to need the Starburst Punch. I'm going to need 1 of the Pretty Peacock, 1 of the Daffodil Delight, and 2 of that Pear Pizzazz. Now you could definitely take these cards and add some ribbon or trim, decorate them up more, but I like to go with the quick and simple when I'm doing these cards generally. I do add sometimes some bling to the sentiment pieces just to jazz it up a little, and that's pretty quick. So let's adhere these on each of my Starbursts. A little bit of assembly line stamping also makes it go a lot faster. So stamping all of your sentiments out, punching all of your Starbursts out, adhering them all down at the same time, that kind of thing definitely makes it go faster. So I almost stuck that one on the wrong color, but you know what? It's one of the colors that coordinates, so it would have been just fine on that as well. No stressing in card making. Should be all about the fun, right? I brought some dimensionals in, and I'm going to use those to pop that up. You could adhere it straight onto your card base as well, definitely. I just like the look of adding dimensionals on the back and giving that little extra touch. Okay, so I have finished getting those mounted, and I'm just going to add a little bit of bling on some of these. You definitely don't have to do that, but I just thought it'd be fun to add a little bit, jazz them up a little bit, right? I'm using my paper piercer to just add a little bit of color on these, and so I can go with that greener. I think I might bring in some of these adhesive backed sequins, and oops, we'll just put 3 of those along the bottom there. It just adds another little special touch. These other 2 are a little bit more neutral or masculine, so I think I'm going to leave them without the bling so that they can be great for other birthdays. For sometimes the cards for the guys are a little bit harder to do. I tend to go to the feminine side quite a bit and like to bling things up. So there you have it. There are 4 cards using the One Sheet Wonder 6x6 layout, and I hope that you enjoyed this. Take out your designer series paper, play around with different color combinations, different patterns, and have a lot of fun. Don't forget, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on the tutorial on how I'm going to utilize these extra scraps to make additional cards so nothing goes to waste from that 6x6. Have a great day, and until we talk again, make sure you grab your paper, stamps, and ink and do something creative.